Thursday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show, Gator Collective. Yeah, we're back on the air. Good to be with you. Got stuff to talk about this weekend. There is a game, by the way, just in case you folks don't remember. South Florida. Yes, Florida's favored, but hey, you never know. We'll talk about that. We've got Ben Troop, of course. He'll be along shortly. And the Iron Duke himself will be joining us. So, a little soundbite from Coach Billy Napier. So stay tuned. Tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show Gator Collective Corner is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Let's do this tonight. We have ball to talk about. We're already in week 3. Is this like me? Like it's, what is it, 25%? I'm not good with numbers. 25% of the season's over already? My goodness, it goes fast after this. Anyway, good evening to you. Thanks for joining the program. Ben Troop will be along shortly. We have several announcements to make tonight. Welcome you folks in. Hey, how about that? We got a new leader in the clubhouse. Brian K. Marchman is back. And he is leading the pack. He's the pole sitter tonight. So welcome, Brian. Becky Smith, Carlisle, good evening. You missed it by one. Gene McLean, go Gators. Terry Johnson, good evening. Andy McIntosh, your orange and blue bloods are in the house. Yes, we are. If you don't know what that means, you need to. You need to become an orange and blue blood. If you're in the stands on Saturday, you happen to be there around Marcia Meadows, she'll baptize you, okay? We're coming in by the droves, orange and blue bloods. They all want to be a part of this elite group, okay? Takes you above all the garbage, all right, and takes you to a higher level. Queenie Kwanda Arnold. Hello, Queenie Kwanda. Good to see you again, Queenie. Nick Moe. No Moe. Even to my daughter, Rebecca Martin Dubeck, who's got merchandise in her shop. We'll get that information, for you so you can start looking. It's back. It's open. We got stuff. David Baldoff, always around with his dilly-dilly. Tonight he didn't use it. He's one of the original members. Unknown user. Hello, buddy. Charles Lewis, go Gators. Anthony Lee Roller, go Gators. Beat the Bulls. The bullies, he says. I don't think they're bullies or bulls. Jeff Owens. How are you, Jeff? I don't think I've heard from you in a while, if ever. Welcome to the program, and Rodney Goodman along with Racy Walker. So, folks, gather around. Let's talk some ball tonight. We got things to discuss. We'll hear from a soundbite from Billy Napier. Actually, it's our own Franz Beard asking the question. I'll tell you, I wrote a column tonight, and Gator Bay is just off the presses for you folks who are members. You'll be getting that information. You should have it now. You can get in and say, read the stuff that's posted. Franz posted a nice column. I just did a piece on the road to recovery, where Anthony Richardson can start back here. We had scouting reports. We had the scouting report from Lauren Meadows. Kyle Curtis has some notes on the game and also who's going to be visiting this weekend. And our new editor is on the job already. Carlton Reese, veteran journalist, is joining the team with Gator Bait. He'll be writing. He's already been writing. He'll be editing, and we're really happy to have him as we continue to upgrade. Very proud of the staff. I talk about them all the time. They're not only really good at what they do, but they're really terrific people. That includes Chris Spears, our photographer, ones I just mentioned. It includes people like like Chad Rich, who's behind the scenes doing his stuff, all pulling, pushing the buttons. We got good people, and they're around everywhere, including the one we're about to bring on board here. Very happy to have him back. We're not even going to do a spot yet. We're going to go right to the man here and catch up and see how are the things that the in Savannah and in the 84 Reasons podcast, and then we'll hear from Billy, his comments about, well, among other things, Anthony. And I just want to tell you a shout out to Bob Redmond, who's under the weather. Bob, get well soon, and we wish you all the best. So, before we even hear from a sponsor, let's go to the green room, soon to be the orange and blue blood room. He does the show every Sunday. It's a good one. He and Lauren Meadows. If you haven't heard it, Sunday around 9:30. Meanwhile, this is sponsored by the folks at Main Street Community Bank of Ocala, independent, FDIC insured, locally operated, full-service bank offering a broad range of financial services. Check them out in downtown Ocala, Main Street Community Bank of Ocala. Community is our middle name. Sponsor of the Green Room, where tonight we find the maestro himself. He's wearing that. I got to think he's wearing that hat again. I don't know. I guess we have to get used to it. I'm not wearing mine tonight, but I'll put it on if I have to out of self-defense. That'd be Ben Troop. Evening, Tripster.
What's going on, buddy? Listen, buddy, at the end of the day, if you ever want to come over this side to the Braves, I got plenty of gear for you.
No.
Just let me know.
No.
Like,
it's like asking me to be an FSU fan, okay?
Oh, no.
That's
Somebody put on, it was a Twitter question. It says, if you couldn't root for Florida, would you root for Florida State, Tennessee, or Georgia? And I was like, I'm not watching college football then. That's a wrap. I'm not.
I like that answer. Right on that one. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not even watching tonight's NFL game. I had it on earlier just for a minute. But that crew they had on there, I didn't recognize. I saw Anthony Gonzalez. He's the guy that I recognize. But, I mean, there's a crew of people on there in the pregame. It looked like high school. It was on Amazon. And I watched Al Michaels come on and say hello. I thought, well, at least we got somebody. Anyway, so I'll be watching it later on. But I know it's Kansas City's interesting, following the Chargers, what have you. But no, I'm a college guy like you. So Ben, what is going on in the world of 84 Reasons? And tell folks what it is who don't know. A lot of people do know, following you, really good interviews, and tell them where they can get it.
Yeah, 84 Reasons is my podcast that I have through Gators Collective, and it's my chance, buddy, to be able to talk to the current crop of student athletes at the University of Florida. I mean, I'm getting more into the former Florida Gators. Guys like Jaquez Green has come on there, and Jeff Demps has come on there. But what I like the most about it is, buddy, is I'm getting a chance to show these current student athletes. You want people to root for the person behind the face mask. So you want them to get to know you away from the game. I mean, I got guys like Trey Dean coming up. I've had guys like Javon Dexter on there and Justin Shorter on there. And what I learned is they're so ready for me to talk to them about football that when I'm asking them about, tell me about where you're from, tell me about your family, tell me about your upbringing, tell me what makes you tick. It's almost like they saying, because like I said, I go, look, if I want to know about you as a football player, I can go to the Buddy Martin show. I can go to Gator Bait just to get those type of. I'm trying to show them that these 4 to 5 years, 6 years now because of the COVID year that you have. What do you want the fans to know about you that no one knows about you? Lorenzo Lingard, his dad being on, dialysis, and him being a guy that said he almost lost his dad during COVID. Javon Dexter losing his father a month before his first game in Florida. Now him being a father. We got guys from the West Coast that talk about the culture, but I've enjoyed it, buddy, because when I first started doing it, just like when we started doing it together, it kind of like shows you the way. You don't have to necessarily figure it out. Yeah. From the first interview, you kind of get your niche, but no games, no gimmicks, just Reasons 84 Reasons. You can find me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes. But Ryan, my producer, does an incredible job of making sure we on all. It's so many platforms now, buddy. I'm looking at stuff like,
I know.
What is this? What is this? But I will say I'm enjoying it, and I give you all the credit, buddy. Because like I said, you you kind of understood NIL a little bit more than I did when it first jumped off, and here it is, man. It's almost like they saw the chemistry that me and you have when we on here talking to these young people, and I was able to bridge that to 84 Reasons. I'm enjoying it. I've spoken to not just football though, track, baseball, volleyball, women's basketball. I haven't got a softball player yet.
You will.
And I haven't got a swimmer. I know Ben Shelton. I know he's no longer at Florida. He's
Mr. Two Bits, so
Mr. Two Bits, hey, he's a former player. He's a former Florida Gator now. So and I'm looking forward to, like you, I'm looking forward to getting some of these coaches on. You know, Coach Kelly Ray Finley, Coach Golden, trying to get them all on there.
We've had a couple of those on, not Coach Golden, but you're right. And I think, let me give you a compliment. What you've done is you brought out another side of these players. And I think when they first really came aboard and realized that we didn't want to talk about, their three-point stances or how they catch a ball or how they block down or whatever, we kind of want to know, how are you doing? What's your family like? And I always go back to that one we had where we had who was the guy? I keep forgetting his name.
Antonio Valentino.
Valentino, the first one, and you asked him about his family. He brought up his sister. He said, "Oh, by the way, my sister's trying to sell Girl Scout cookies," which we all do. My granddaughter or whatever, you got to buy them, right? And so you were so gracious, and you so just bridged the gap like a normal journalist wouldn't do, because we're too stupid, We're so busy worried about our principles and our ideas or whatever. You said, "How many boxes is she trying to sell?" She said, "Well, she's targeted 50. And you said, "I'll take them all." Okay, that was amazing. Now, that didn't stop there. That gesture was so big, people heard about it. And I think the last time we saw Ben, help me out, they used to hold about maybe 3,000 boxes.
It was a lot. It was a big shout out to my old teammate Shannon Snell.
Yeah.
He bought a bunch, and I think Antonio Valentino, he had obviously he had transferred from Penn State, so
right.
He understood Gator Nation, but he didn't understand it. And I think that even though obviously that was his, he only had 1 year, of eligibility left. He kind of got to see just a small glimpse of what Gator Nation is, because I think sometimes, buddy, we don't utilize Gator faithful. We think that they root for you, but they want to see what you up to, and it's like the more approachable you are, the more down to earth you are. They want to be around those guys. But shout out to Bobby Valentino. I think he has an incredible future in the media. I know he does. He has a podcast and different stuff that he does, but. Garrett Wingo and his mom.
Yeah, we had him on twice.
Her
twice, yeah.
Yeah, so
the bakery, the cupcakes, yeah.
It gives guys a chance to, it gives people a chance to see just how interesting you are, or just how you resonate with it, with those around you. Because a lot of times they see your size, they see your ability, they think, "Oh, you guys are untouchable." No, let them know I'm very approachable. I have similar interests to everybody walking around. But yeah, that's the fun part. Getting a chance to know them, getting a chance to really know the person. And some of these young men and young ladies are very, very intriguing. Some of them got some stories that I think that your show, my show, and us together, we get a chance to help bring it out of.
Well, I really enjoyed doing this to you, and I look forward to the Sunday morning. It kind of cuts into church time a little bit. We'll do our best to not to keep you late next time. But people want to talk about it the next morning, especially after a night game. We had a couple of really big crowds the last 2 Sundays. Be on again this Sunday, by the way. It'll be a little easier because we don't have a night game to do. But I we'll get into the game and the players and the injury report and all that stuff in South Florida in just a moment. But I just want to say that this is a new side of these shows, these podcasts. You got the OGs, and shout out, by the way, to Jack West for being named the Tampa Bay Bucks Coach of the Month. For I forget what game he won, but a big one. So he's a pretty good coach too, and for Jack West to do that. Let me also point out that we're going to have a new sponsor on our Monday night show with Shane Matthews, who's going to coach for the XFL team. It doesn't have a name yet, and they'll also sponsor a segment of the Sunday Orange Blue Bloods, which is good. build that up. And I wanted to say that we've got a new program here, which Brendan Martin, the producer, has put together on our Stars program. And many of you have been really generous about donating stars to the show. We're going to have a Ren Star of the Week, and the person who gives the most stars that week goes into a pool, and then the monthly prize winner will draw out of that pool, and they'll get some nice stuff. I mean, not stuff you can buy. I mean, collector's item stuff, whether it's books, old books, jerseys, whatever we got. And so it's going to be fun, and I want to say thank you, Ben, to all those people who support us and who support Ben's podcast. And you're doing a great job on it. Okay, you ready to talk some ball?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right, Florida should have not a tough time on Saturday. I know we're all thinking about what happened last weekend. No, you be careful. Look what happened to Appalachian State's Jimbo Fisher in the hot water. What if he loses this weekend? But the point is, I think this should be a recovery game for Anthony Richardson. I wrote my column today in Gator Bay on this is the road to recovery. This is how it goes. And I pointed this out, Ben, as a competitor, you will appreciate this. This is a Tiger Woods reference. I wasn't trying to compare Anthony to Tiger Woods, but his record is so amazing because I followed Tiger when he was a youngster and covered golf. I was there with Pebble Beach that year when he won and set the record in 2000. We all know what Tiger Woods has done. And we know he's won, 15 majors and he's had 10 amazing rounds in majors and so on and so forth. But you know what Tiger Woods did that's most amazing? What? He went 402. Let's see. He had a record of, I'm going to get the number right. I got it in my column. He had I want to say it's like 142 tournaments without missing a cut. Without missing a cut. You know how he did it? On days when he was going to shoot 78, he turned it to a 72. Okay? And that's on the bad days. He battled through. He fought through it, and that's the man. Now, this is what Anthony Richardson needs to think about. When you're having a night like he had against Kentucky, fight through it. Turn that 78 into a 72. Don't throw picks and don't mess it up. When he learns that part of it, he's on his way. Billy talked about it this week, about his improvement, and he thinks I love some of the things he did after the game, where he went out to the parking lot and played catch with kids. He went to the press conference and manned up and took the blame, took the heat. That shows me maturity. Don't forget when he got a ticket for speeding for 130 miles an hour on Archer Road in that Dodge Charger, he turned it in and got himself a Toyota. So that tells me that he's willing to correct his mistakes and mature and move on. So that to me is what that would be as a coach, as a Perks fan, would make a lot of points to me. How about you, Ben?
Absolutely. I think that Anthony Richardson just had his first dose of what it is to be the starting quarterback, not just at the University of Florida, but in college football. It's not about how you play on the bad days, it's how you respond. My senior year against Kentucky, at Kentucky, the very first play from scrimmage was an all-go. I'm the first read. I came open and I alligator armed it. I didn't fully extend. I get to the sideline and Ron Zook said, "You better hope we win this game," because it's those type of plays that are the difference in. And the best players, not to give Nick Saban any more credit than he deserved, but he says good players. He said average players they don't want nobody to say nothing to them. They just want to go. Just slide by. Good players, they want to be coached. Great players, they want to be coached hard. I want you to get on me every single play that I don't do right because I'm chasing perfection. And the thing about a guy like Anthony Richardson, he's so gifted that people don't understand that he's also human. Hey, man, he's allowed to have a human moment. But like you said, buddy, no one made him walk up there to that podium after this game. But that's what he said, "Hey, man, if I gonna stand up here when we win, I'm gonna stand up here when we lose." And it's how he handles it. Like these people that saying, "Oh man, he's not a first round pick," that's a first round talent.
It is.
Regardless of what he did or didn't do. But I think for Anthony Richardson, he's realizing, man, I can't just put that 15 on my chest and show up. I have to do the little things. I have to make the plays when they're there. I have to go through my reads. And I can show my athleticism when called for, because we know this, buddy. Good teams are not not to compare the two once again, but just similar skill set. Lamar Jackson is an incredible athlete. In the playoff games, they're not gonna let him beat him athletically. Dude, we're gonna make you sit in that pocket and go through your reads. We're not. So I think for Anthony Richardson, football gets easier for him if he can do the things that non-athletic quarterbacks have to do, like Peyton Manning, sit in that pocket. And then once he's sitting in that pocket, the teams go, "Oh, he's a pocket passer." Then you can take off. But he'll be very, very mature. I can appreciate how humble and upfront he is. He don't try to run away from the criticism, but it's just feedback. You know how it is, buddy. Buddy, you've been in the media business a long time. When you used to write stories and you had an editor, you didn't like some of the feedback you got, but it made you a better writer. So that now, when you have to edit other people's stuff, you can be like, "Don't take it personal. Apply what I told you. Come back better." And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to him because his first start, what was against Georgia? I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, it was Georgia.
So, but he'll be all right. I'm never ever gonna make excuses for no players.
Yeah.
I know you got a couple of guys banged up, but hey, he's 20 years old. He's a starting quarterback in Florida, and buddy, you know it's only gonna go up from now. I mean, no matter every game, people are gonna be looking for him to make a mistake. I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, as you said, I have high expectations for myself. I know people have expectations for me. So we'll see. Let's take a quick break. We come back. I want you to tell me what player has impressed you the most that you didn't expect to impress you. We'll tell you about one of them who's really leading the SEC and didn't expect him to. So, yeah, Nick Moe wants you to preach. We'll get you back to Ben's sermon. Here's a quick message from our sponsor, our good friends at Meldon Law. We'll come back after that. Franz Beer around the corner of the Iron Duke. Your questions and comments, folks. Love to have them.
A breaking story. Okay.
All right.
So this year, my wife Patricia and I are chair people for the Alzheimer's Association. And Meldon Law was founded in 1971. So for every free throw made this year by both the men's basketball team and women's basketball team, Meldon Law is donating $19.71 to the Alzheimer's Foundation.
Nice. What's the 1971? When you started the law firm?
Yes.
Very good. That's a great story and a great idea. And it couldn't be for a better cause, because we know how devastating that disease is to a lot of people and families. Congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Meldon Law. Meldon Law. And by the way, their slogan is, "We won't back down." Check them out if you have a need for that kind of stuff. And he, of course, is a tremendous fan. You go to the Meldon Law Facebook page, you can win tickets to games. Good deal for you. All right, so there's one guy that came out in the stats looking really good. Get this. He leads the SEC in broken tackles. Who do you think that is?
Probably Trevor Etienne. I mean, for what I've seen.
Exactly right. And I'm thinking why he's better than we all thought. Florida's still got 4 running backs. They played only 3 most of the time. I like his explosiveness. I like his first step. I like his sense of direction. And every good running back, man, has vision. They kind of just know where to go. And he's pretty strong, too, for a guy. So he's been a big surprise. Now, it could be that one of these games, and it might be this weekend, maybe he'll go for 100 yards. You never know. He can, one long run, put him there. He's almost broken it 2 or 3 times. So there's one pleasant surprise that we didn't count on. That is the running back position, leading the SEC in broken tackles.
Trevor is incredible. Trevor understands that for him to be a freshman, to be able to step in there right now, that means that he understands the playbook. He understands what the role is. But I think even more impressive is his partner in crime, Montrell Johnson. I mean, I think he's been just as impressive because you want to have a guy that's been in the system that understands this is how he wants us to run the football. We know we can. He wants to look a certain way. I think both guys are averaging. I think Montrell like 7.2. I want to say Trevor is 7.9. That's production because You know now, buddy, you're not going to find that bell cow running back anymore. It's going to be by committee. It's going to be a couple of guys, and I see somebody saying Devin Moore. He's been impressive. I I just think that Florida's offensive line, right? We get the reason why two young guys can average those type of have that type of average per carry is because our offensive line has been playing extremely well. I mean, I think they're guys that they're never going to get enough credit, but they're going to get a lot of blame now. But this is the thing, right? In two games, 0 sacks,
Yeah.
zero. I don't think people understand how extremely difficult that is. It doesn't matter the competition. But the thing is, you had the number 17, right? And you had a Kentucky team that was very, very good. 0 sacks. So I want to give a lot of credit to those 5 young men up front, led by Osiris Torrance. That's incredible. So I'm looking forward to see these young running backs continue on because, like I said, buddy, just like I said earlier about AR-15, he can learn to go through his reads and utilize the run game. And when because he got a clean pocket, that throw he made to Xavier Henderson, that was a beautiful throw. And that was a very, very highly difficult throw on the sideline on the move. Can he sit in the pocket? Can he go from number 1, number 2, number 3, check down? But the brothers of the law office of Johnson and Etienne is open for business. The 2 young men are very, very impressive.
Well, you mentioned the guy who's second in the SEC in broken tackles, Johnson. So that's pretty impressive, and you keep doing that, you're going to break one for the distance. And boy, Johnson's come really close a couple of times to breaking it. So that's the end point. Looking at AR, it's such a good nickname. I almost can't drop it, AR-15, but we can't do that anymore. Looking at AR stats, you look at this. He had a bad night. All right, I wouldn't say bad. I'd say just above mediocre, but not much. He has numbers where they spoke. 14 for 35. Like people say, if you're throwing 35 times, you're probably not winning. He had 143 yards, 0 TDs, and 2 interceptions. Okay, listen to this. This guy, in his third NFL start, who's a starter now and a highly respected quarterback, had 16 for 33, 151, 0 touchdowns, 2 NTs. Josh Allen. So you compare the numbers. So yeah, I mean it's that happens. All right, so we can talk all night about the quarterback, which we tend to do, and we're going to hear in a minute from Coach Napier when Franz joins us. But there are other parts of this team. We talked about last week how we thought they had a potential, possible 10-2, 9-3, whatever. I think 10-2 might be off the table. But I was talking to David Moulton last night, who's a very wise observer and does a talk show also. And he says, who on the schedule who would Florida lose to? You can name them. Georgia would be one, right? Who else would Florida lose to? Because all of a sudden Texas A&M ain't exactly Georgia, So if you said right now, give me the 2 or 3 teams Florida lose to, who would you say?
I mean, LSU was always going to be tough because they seem to play Florida well and it's on the road. Tennessee could be a team that could give Florida some trouble because, I mean, when you look at what Hendon Hooker and that offense is doing, and it's on the road. And I know you mentioned Texas A&M. They're going to be a much different, much better team by the time Florida plays them. And Florida State is competitive this year. We'll see if they can keep it up. I know it's only 2 games sample size. But for me, I think the one that's going to be the toughest, obviously Georgia, but those other 3 are toss-ups. Like South Carolina is interesting, right? But we get them at home. Yeah. And I will say this, buddy. The one that scares me the most, not named Georgia, is going to be LSU because that's a nice rivalry that's been built over the years. But other than that, I think Florida can compete with anybody. I think that it's going to come down to. Oh, I got to say this too. Ladies and gentlemen, don't look now, but the defense is balling. Florida's defense is balling. Yeah. Brenton Cox got a sack last week without touching the quarterback. He just put the tackles in the, he just told the tackle, you sit right here in the pocket. Brenton Cox and Javon Dexter are playing some big time football. That pick that Javon, that's a super duper athletic play. I just think that for Florida though, they got it. They got it. They go. It's how they look in Jacksonville, and I think the LSU is the only one that might scare me. But hey, I just think that, buddy, it's gonna be on them. Cause like I say, Tennessee, they look good, but they ain't scary. LSU, they ain't even got a win yet. Texas A&M, I don't know what's going on up there. People, I'm not Haynes King, the starting quarterback of Texas A&M. Go look at his stats. I mean, it was ugly. What he did what he did against App, that was hard to watch. But it's gonna be on Florida's schedule. The back end of the schedule ain't the easiest schedule, buddy, but I think it's very, very manageable.
Well, you said flip a coin. I think that's true. I think, and this is what David Moulton said. I'm only saying that one team looks like they're going to be an L for Florida, and that's Georgia. The rest of them, I mean, LSU, what did they get beat this weekend? By the way, Mississippi State's favorite, I think. What did they get beat this weekend? We know A&M is a mess. I ain't worried about Florida State right now. So, I mean, look, let's say, would you say the chances are pretty good they would lose no more than 2 games the rest of the way?
I mean, well, yeah, but this is the thing, right? Florida goes if Florida goes 9-3, right? Florida goes 9-3. Mm-hmm. That is an incredible year.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens is, buddy, we've gotten used to this. Oh, Florida's going to go undefeated. I don't think Florida's ever had an undefeated season.
Well, regular season one year, but they got beat by Nebraska.
Yeah, but then, so I will say, buddy, new coach, new regime, new culture, new way of doing things.
Yeah,
and you go 9-3, while you still trying to establish it. Oh, that's an incredible year. Most teams would because right now, Notre Dame doesn't have a win, right?
0-3 in South Bend.
Listen, Notre Dame doesn't have a win, Nebraska doesn't have a coach, and if LSU loses, they'll be 0-2. Yeah. So life could be a lot worse.
Here's a guy that would agree with you. He loves it when Notre Dame doesn't win. Eden Francis, say hello to our narrator over here, who's now the star of 84 Reasons and preaches a couple times a week. And Ben Troop, what's up, friends?
Well, another fine day here in paradise, and couple days closer to a football game, and a chance to right the ship a little bit, which I think the Gators will do. I'd like to see them. They're favored by 24. I'd like to see them do a whole lot more than that. But win or lose, this is just another stepping stone in a season in which look, anything, as Ben just said, 9 wins would be fabulous. I think anything above 8 is 8 or above. It should be taken as an unbelievably good coaching year by Billy Napier, because I don't think people really realize just how just how morale had disintegrated and confidence in the program had disintegrated among the players. And I think it was at a very high level. I think that one of the telltale signs that Billy Napier is the real deal had to do with the fact that only a handful of guys transferred out. We look at so many of these other schools that had their first-year coach come in, and I mean, the number of kids transferring out, it was a turnstile there. And Florida only had a handful of kids that transferred out, and I think that that's a tribute to Billy Napier. Mm-hmm. And I think that says a lot about what he stands for and the buy-in of the kids that are here.
Let me get you. I want to get to your question. I want to get. I don't interrupt you. I want to get to your question to Billy Napier that you asked him, which I've got here, which deals with what we're talking about here, which is how to get better and how whatever. You asked a very good question to him, and I want to say also, this is the Green Room, sponsored by Main Street Community Bank of Ocala, independent FDIC and locally operated full-service bank. Check them out in downtown Ocala, Main Street Community Bank of Ocala. Community is our middle name. They're sponsored the Green Room, soon to be Orange and Blue Blood Room, but tonight it's still green. All right, this is our colleague Fran Spear going to work here, Ben, at the press conferences, because we're out there, And by the way, Fran's also has a good piece in tomorrow's Gator Bait, check it out. We're out there doing stuff, and Franz is always there in Gainesville, checking it out, just like you are been out there with the OGs, all right, talking to people.
How Anthony takes so much on his shoulders, and we saw that after the game. How do you get him to kind of come down and realize that, okay, yeah, you're important, but so are these other 10 guys, and you have to, and they're part of this too?
Well, you try to have a systematic approach, right? Independent of the outcome. We're always evaluating the play and the possession and the game independent of what the score was. So, I think for him, being consistent is important, right? Creating a routine and a structure for him where he knows what's next. There's no question when he watches the tape, he can see where other players around him could have done things better. He can do things better. Why didn't the play work? Why did it work, right? Sometimes things work really well. And believe it or not, there's plays out there where we have a positive result, but we didn't do a lot of things the right way, so I think each play's a little bit different. Again, I go back to getting consumed with improvement, right? Communication, alignment, eye discipline, fundamentals, techniques, in-game decision-making, right? I think you got to keep it technical and create a place where a guy can develop. And there's one place that you develop in this game, and that's on the practice field and in the meeting room, right? So, having the right attitude and the right approach in those two settings, I think, is important.
All right, so those are not new thoughts about coaches. They all want you to get better every day, and I get it. There's something about the way Napier says it that sounds authentic for some reason or the other, like it's underway. I guess it's because he's planned this out step by step by step, and he quality controls every minute of every day. Franz, you've been around him a lot. You've been to press conferences. How do you think he handled that loss? I know he's looking at it as an opportunity to get better, but he's got to remember too, it won't take long for Gator fans to be after him if he loses a couple.
Well, I like the even keel disposition. He's not a yeller. He's not a screamer. He doesn't place blame on anybody. He says it's on everybody, starting from the highest spot, which is himself, down to the lowest person on the totem pole in this organization. It's on everybody. I like that approach myself. I think that we're in an era where it's too easy to blame the players, and it's not always the players. Sometimes the players get blamed for not executing something they haven't been well prepared to do. That happens far too often in this game, and yet the players are the ones that end up getting beat up in the media and sometimes by their own coaches about it. I like the fact that Billy Napier just says, hey, we got to do a better job, period. And he says this is an opportunity for everybody in the organization to take ownership of the situation and get better from it.
Mm-hmm. You agree with that, Ben?
Approach.
Sorry. Ben, you agree with that?
I do. I think that sometimes, but people don't give coaches enough credit for how they handle the media. I mean, you don't got to like Bill Belichick, but he controls the media. Like with the way he answers questions, because he says a lot without saying anything. You look at Mike Tomlin and the way because the media is a big part of what you do as a coach. It's going to be a huge part. So you got to get used to being able to answer questions. And I understand when Billy Napier said, look, man, we are obsessed with getting better. Like that, we are obsessed with it. And coaches say things to players behind the scenes that only the game can show them. That stuff they be telling them, and then when it happened at the end of the game, they said, "I did not tell you." Mm-hmm. So now it resonates with them more. But you notice the players are watching what the coach says now. Like Billy Napier's not finna say things like we got a bunch of independent contract. Yeah. He's not gonna do that because he knows I need them to perform for me. Because once I lose them up here, I've lost them. But he understands what it is. Billy Napier knows, man. Man, I make almost $8 million a year, man. I'm still trying to earn, my stripes to a fan base that it's gonna be like this every other week. Because sometimes you're gonna get
Mhm.
criticism, even in a win, you're gonna get criticism. But I like that Billy Napier when he first got off the plane and they gave him the football. They wanted him to do all this stuff. He goes, "Look, man, just take the like. I'm not that. Like I'm a player's coach, but I'm not gonna do what Shane Beamer did. I'm not doing no TikTok stuff. I'm a football coach. I'm gonna get these guys ready, and I can respect that. And I like the way he answered Fran's question. Look right at Fran, shaking his head. Like, hey man, I'm having an individual conversation with
Yeah.
everybody in this room.
Good
I can
point.
respect that
Very good.
because a
Very
lot of
good
coaches,
point. Yeah.
well, yeah, well, a lot of coaches they try to blow you off a little bit in the freaking. I ain't with that. Your job is to talk to the media. That is a part of your job, and to answer questions. And I respect every coach that does it, even though Mike Leach, he got to have the most interesting press conferences on the planet because this dude, good lord, I mean, but that's it. That's his personality. But I respect Billy Napier for making sure
Yeah.
that he don't stray away. Because if he can handle the media, the football part gonna be easy.
I think he's right, France, and I think he is. You're there, the sincerity, and you know what it was like under Mullen. It's like he never really kind of wanted to address the question, talked around it obliquely or whatever. Billy gives it thought. He doesn't tell you everything. He's not going to tell you all the secrets. But do you feel like he addresses your questions? You've asked a bunch of them this year to him.
Well, I think he does. I asked him one yesterday, and I asked him to talk about how you get over the hangover from a loss. Have you
Right.
been able to do that? Uh, and he went into far more detail than what I was looking for.
He said, I wouldn't call it
Oh,
a
yeah.
hangover. He's probably the first thing. I remember that. He said, I wouldn't call it a hangover, right?
He said it's kind of like you get a speeding ticket. He says,
Yeah.
it doesn't kill you. It doesn't kill you forever, but he says it really makes you remember it.
Probably not a
you know,
good
like-
reference given his quarterback situation.
Yeah. But the point is that he gives you, he doesn't get a lot of he doesn't go into a lot of praise with his individual players. And I think that's with a purpose. I think they know that he will praise them in private plenty. If they really do something extraordinary, he will praise them in public. But he's not going to get them into the habit of just throwing names. He's not a name dropper. He's not going to be just throwing names out there for the sake of throwing names out there, which is what a lot of coaches do. A lot of coaches feel like it is their moral obligation to go down that roster and every 3 weeks having named everybody on his roster. You did a good job, or you ask a specific question about a specific player, he will give you an answer. But he's not going to just name drop. He's not going to be throwing names out there. What he'll be doing is he's going to give you what you asked for and some.
I think we lost France. He was breaking up there, but he'll be back. I think the point, there was a reference at some point. You're right. He doesn't throw his players under the bus, but he did specifically say there were at least 5 plays that were exactly contrary to what we teach and what we told. And it does happen. It's not easy to get everybody on the same page. And those 5 plays where they went against your teaching, Ben, when you play, what would you say the number of times that your team failed to execute, although you were taught better? It's quite frequently, probably one of the 5 plays, right?
It is, and that's a part of being a player. You got to understand that criticism is what fans do. Feedback is what coaches do. Coaches don't criticize players; they're giving you feedback. Like when a coach asks you, "What is this?" He's trying to see what you're thinking, because the coaches say, "Do we coach this?" No. Where are you supposed to be? Where's your depth at? Or where you supposed? Because the coach, if the fans got to go into the meeting room and just see what a coach will do is they'll stop a play. They'll run the play and stop it, and they'll show you. They'll tell that running back, "You're supposed to be hitting the A gap. I want you to look at the A gap," and the A gap opened up, but he hit the B gap. So it's a tackle for a loss because that's not where the ball was supposed to go. It be the smallest things like getting your depth, route integrity, down and distance, anticipate. It be the things that coaches say, I'm trying to take the thinking out. I'm trying to make it so that you can go out there and react. So I I I was always told as a player, whenever you do an interview, two players and a coach. Mention two of your teammates and a coach. Keep it up, keep it up. They ask you about you, say me individually, I have to play better. How you feel about your teammates? I think they did a great job. I think if I go out there and do my job better, because I don't want to. You're not gonna get me to talk. I'm not a perfect player, so I'm not gonna talk trash about another player. But I'm gonna mention two of my players, two things they did in a coach, and Billy Napier, he's really showing the players this is how you do interviews. Don't shy away from questions. Don't point the finger, and just be open and honest. Which means a lot of them will not do no interviews. Like if you go, why would they never interview so and so? I can't put them behind that mic because they're gonna say something they can't unsay. But I respect Coach Napier. That's the job. The job is stand up in front of that podium, telling the truth. We know you ain't gonna tell us the game plan. We know you ain't gonna tell us when Jack Miller's coming back, which everybody want to know. But it's Anthony Richardson knows you got the top spot in the state of Florida. The two most famous quarterbacks in the state of Florida is Tom Brady and Anthony Richardson. Not Tua. Tom Brady and Anthony Richardson are the two most famous guys, and Tua's in the NFL. And obviously they got that, they got Trevor Lawrence up there in Jacksonville. You got to be able to live with it, but I can appreciate the fact that a head coach has to take the blunt. Ron Zook used to take the blunt for us all the time. So that's what it is. But hopefully those players will go out there and play for them. They seem to be a team that really, really loves playing for them right now.
That seems to be the case. They do like playing for him. And we've seen that we've interviewed all these guys over the period of 21 weeks, and the message we kept getting back was all positive. But we weren't really sure until we saw it on the field. I think we can say now, conclusively, that he's got this team. This team listens to him now. And like someone says, like sheep, the biblical reference to the sound of my voice, the sheep only follow one voice. I think Billy has established that voice. Now, can he get him to do the things they need to do to play winning football? He referenced that today. He said, I think we do. He talked about character. He thinks he can get them to play and win. What do you think, France?
I think he can. And the only question I have right now is, can they avoid the injuries? They've lost Ventrell Miller. We don't know for how long. Lost Michael Tarquin. Don't know how long either for him. So you've already hit two established starters. Michael Tarquin, an established starter, even though he only started 2 games. What he's done is he's forced a guy who's never started a game to get his first start, and that's Austin Barber. And it's shuffled. Josh Brown now has to move over and be the main backup for Richard Gourage at left tackle. So you've had some shuffling that's had to go along on the offensive line because of this injury, and we don't know how long Michael Tarquin will be out. Ventrell Miller is huge. As Billy pointed out yesterday, he is our communicator. Everything on the defense goes through him. It's kind of like, okay, you just lost the quarterback of your defense, your guy that calls the plays out there, that gets everybody aligned. So losing these two guys may be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, in the long haul. If you lose any more than these two guys, it could really, really be a problem.
Yeah, to that point, to that point, I want to say, do you know the stats? What linebackers had the best week in the SEC, the highest grades after week 2?
One of them was Drew Sanders over there at Arkansas, who had an absolutely incredible ball game.
He was 4th best. You know who number 1 was? Ventrell Miller. Ventrell Miller had the highest grade of any linebacker in the SEC. So yes, it's going to impact that defense. And they, I don't know, you know more than I do about when they're getting back. He won't reveal that. But behind him, Chad Bailey from Missouri, Aaron Beasley of Tennessee, and Drew Sanders, as you mentioned, had that. So all right, so guys, let's kind of I want to get on to the game, but I also want to talk about a coaching situation. We know Nebraska has an opening.
No.
We know.
No.
Well, wait a minute now. Hold on a second. Here's a guy that I'd recommend for the job right here. I think he could do it right there. That's Ted Lasso, and he's got his outfit and everything on there, right? What do you think, guys? Would that be good? Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't do no worse. Not at this point. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean, and friends, maybe you can help me. I don't know how long it's been, but Nebraska has been bad for like a decade now. They had like one winning season like the last 10 years. I don't know what's going on in Nebraska right now. Scott Frost, everybody wants to do the Coach Spurrier thing. Oh, I was great there as a player. I know the tradition. No, there is a disconnect going on in Nebraska, and I don't know what it is because, I mean, never ever thought that Georgia Southern would be the nail in the coffin. But hey, man, Georgia Southern went up there. Old coach Heldon coming over from USC, got that dub. And Scott Frost, he's getting $15 million, people, so he's fine. He'll be all right. He just don't have to eat no more corn. He'll have to drive by 10 miles of cornfield to get to the freaking stadium.
Here's the thing that's interesting about this. What do Frank Solich and Bo Pelini have in common?
Both got fired by Nebraska.
Both of them got fired by Nebraska. Both of them averaged 9 wins a year.
Wow.
And people fail to realize that Dr. Tom Osborne had a whole bunch of 9-win seasons, but they never fired him.
But they also played fewer games, too, in fairness. So.
Well, that's because Dr. Tom got his 3 national championships in 4 years there at the end. But he waited a lot of years to get that done. He had been there 20 years when he got his first national championship. Long time to wait, and Nebraska fans think that, forget that it took him that long, and they say, just like that, they wanted a national championship. Bo Pelini won 57 ball games in 6 years. He got fired. Frank Solich won 67 ball games in 9 years. He got fired. These are good football coaches. And Nebraska fans need to take a chill pill. It's kind of like what happened at Alabama after Bear retired. It wasn't until really Nick Saban came along that they were content. Gene Stallings won a national championship, but Gene even quit because he couldn't stand the fact that they said, well, you won down, you got 5 to go to catch up with Bear. It wasn't good enough that he won a national championship. Now, it took him until Nick came along to win a lot of national championships again. But it's kind of like what goes on with Kentucky basketball. Yeah. Until John Calipari wins a second national championship, then a third and a fourth to tie Adolph Rupp, he's just another basketball coach.
Okay, now here's a guy who happens to be in Lincoln this weekend too, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
Oh,
he is in Lincoln this weekend. Now he's doing it. He's doing a TV show, okay, but he's there, and the back channels are lit up. I don't know. I couldn't see him taking that job. I haven't talked to Urban in a while. Last time I talked to him was about the Auburn job, which Paul Feinbaum brought up. But I don't know. France, do you see him ever coaching there? Would he even consider going to Nebraska?
Number one, you only go places where you know you're going to win. And that comes from Urban Meyer's mouth himself. Only go. He said after he had coached at Bowling Green, where he had to basically get out there and sell football to his student body just to get 10,000 people at Deutsch Perry Stadium. What a weird name for a stadium, right? All 24,000 seats of it. But after that, when he went to Utah, he chose Utah because he knew he could win there and he saw what was left behind. You're not going to win at Nebraska.
I don't know. I mean, there's talk about, look, this just came out of a well-known website today. It says Meyer has addressed the opening of Nebraska multiple times. He has reiterated his intrigue for the Husker faithful, calling the Nebraska fan base one of the most unique he's had the chance to experience. He says, as the Nebraska struggles, Meyer pointed to a shifting landscape of college football and the current recruiting base for the Huskers, etc., and has a serious mutual interest to see. Anyway, this is what one person. I don't know. Ben, what do you think?
Shelley says he's not interested.
Yeah, okay.
I can tell you that much.
Well, she would know. Ben, what do you think?
Nah, I don't see Urban Meyer going to Nebraska. I mean, obviously, his name is always going to come up because of his pedigree and what he did in Florida and Ohio State, obviously, at Utah. You know, and the thing is, I mean, he proved that he's obviously built to be in college and not in the pros. But I don't see Urban Meyer going to a place to where he got to build back up. Like, what is Nebraska's legacy at this point? What, Tommy Frazier in '95? That's been a long time. Adamagan Sue.
Don't mention his name, Tommy Frazier. We don't want to hear it. It gives us a headache.
I'm just saying, it's like it's the thing. The thing about it is, I mean, let's call it what it is. If Urban Meyer was going to come back to college, it would have been a place like USC, like Oklahoma. I'm going to a place that's going to be on primetime TV playing primetime games. I mean, Nebraska. I don't know what Nebraska got. It's kind of got a Miami problem. Like it's kind of going through a. You don't know why they can't get it going. They get the players, they get the coaches. It just ain't. They ain't getting the win. So I don't see.
They got the coach. Florida won it originally, and that didn't work out so good.
I just think that when you think about a team like Nebraska, you know, they're going through an identity crisis. While their fans seem to think they're a better program right now than they actually are. Yeah. I don't see Urban Meyer trying to be a guy because when you say you're trying to bring it back, you're trying to bring it back to what? Like, what are you trying? Like, people say, we're back. We're back to what? So right. I don't know. I don't see it being Nebraska, though.
All right. Now, guys, real quick, and I'm going to give you some picks. Go ahead. Run real quick. I got to ask you some picks. Go ahead.
Here are the states that border Nebraska: Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, and South Dakota. Boy, we got a bunch of football powerhouses there. You're going to really.
They all came from Jersey before.
You're really going to recruit well. And instead, you know, between all those states right there, you may have had 5 Division I prospects.
Colorado had a few. I lived out there. I lived out there in one of those square states. I know.
6.
Yeah. Hey, listen. In the remaining minutes, I'm going to do some picks. We got to do some picks. All right. I'm gonna give you choices here. Let's go one at a time. We won't pick Florida, but you have to pick against the spread. But, all right, so this big game. Mississippi State is favored by 2 at LSU. At LSU, when does that happen ever again? Franz, give me a real quick pick.
Mississippi State wins big by 10 or more.
All right, Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I think Mike Leach, he's not finna let old Brian Kelly get his first win in the SEC. Against him, I think Mississippi State wins big.
I don't know about big, but I like him, and I don't like laying the 2 points, but I will. I'll take him. All right. So how about we got time for 2 more? How about Penn State favored by 3 at Auburn? Ben, you go first this time.
Wow. I mean, I think Tank Bigsby in that running game gonna have something to say. I know that Penn State got a big win last year against Auburn at Penn State. I think that Coach Harsin. He got a couple of big wins in his belt. I think he gets a big one against Penn State at home.
France?
Pennsylvania 6-5,000.
Okay, is that a score?
No, but Penn State's going to win the ball game. Auburn's got quarterbacks that know how to throw the ball to the other team, and that'll do them in.
I agree. I take Penn State by a touchdown. And finally, Ole Miss favored by 16 over Georgia Tech, which had a pretty good game last week. Guys, which one do you like?
Woo! I mean, I will say this: I don't know who has the hardest schedule in the country, but I know that Georgia Tech got to be in the top 2 or 3. I mean, Jeff Collins is doing the best he can to right the ship. Oh my! I don't see him getting a big one against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is one of those teams that Lane Kiffin is doing an incredible job. I think they had 10 wins last year. Sorry, Jeff Collins. You trying to get what, the 5 wins? I think he has 9 wins in his first 3 years. We'll add another one to the loss column. I think Ole Miss wins big.
All right. Finally, I got a trivia question for you guys. You may have heard me ask this earlier in the week. I'm going to repeat it anyway. Out of the 128 D1 schools, 7 have yet to throw a touchdown pass. Can you name anybody of those teams? You should know at least one.
Army, Navy, and Air Force.
Ben, what do you think?
Hasn't thrown a touchdown pass?
Out of 7.
Wow. Army, Navy, Air Force, Florida. I don't think we've thrown a touchdown pass yet. Wow.
All right, you got the one. I don't care about Army. It's also South Florida.
Has Texas A&M thrown a touchdown?
I don't know, but I know Florida and South Florida have not thrown one. That's what I can tell you. I don't know who they are. I just know they have not. So there you go.
Actually, Navy and Air Force have.
There you go.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you don't get that kind of stuff on this program. Hey guys, great stuff. Enjoyed the weekend. Enjoyed the game. Francis, look forward to reading your piece tonight in Gator Bait. We're going to get Ben writing for Gator Bait. We're going to work on that and see if we can get it. I'll talk to you on Sunday morning at the Orange and Blue Blood show on Sunday. And friends, have a good weekend at the Ball Yard this weekend. All right?
Thank you.
All right. Ben Troop, Franz Beard, 2 of my regulars. Glad to have those guys on. It's always fun to have them on. So let me just sign off by telling you about my friends at really one of the best businesses around town for the things they do in the community. RenStar Medical Research. By the way, you'll be hearing the RenStar Star of the Week starting next week. We're going to probably have that on Tuesday night with Brendan Martin about the people who give the most stars. Every week when they win, they'll be put in a hopper, as we call it, and then we'll draw the name of the weekly winners, and someone will get a really nice prize pack from us or things that you cannot even buy. So that's going to start next week. So I want to tell you about RenStar, what they do. They're kind of our guardian angels here. They're always looking out for better ways to treat us. And how they do that, they have these clinical trials on all kinds of issues, diseases. They've had way over 650 of them. And they have a group of people come in, and you go through their protocol, and you test some things. And you can get paid, by the way, compensation time and travel if you're picked for this. For instance, the one they just did on psoriasis, which I think is maybe ended by now. I got to check it. You had to be between ages 18 and 75, be diagnosed with plaque-type psoriasis, not have any of the major skin conditions. You get to see a dermatologist at no cost. You have access to the trial medication, and you receive money for time and travel. So no requirements for insurance. So if you're interested in taking part in some of these, you can find out what they are by going to renstar.net. They list them every week, what's going on, a telephone number to call and see if you qualify to be a part of this. And then, of course, that data is assembled. It goes on to major pharmaceutical companies to find treatments for us, especially in our area. Call them at 352-629-5800, 352-629-5800, RenStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers for the health questions of today. Thanks to Ben Troop, Franz Beard. Thanks to our sponsors. And we'll talk to you on Sunday morning. Orange and Blue Bloods, don't forget, you got to do this if you want to join the Orange and Blue Bloods, and then you stand by for further instructions. You want to be a part of what's going on at a high level? Well, here's what Marcia and Jen did, and they're baptizing people every week.
Repeat after me. I believe in the boys and girls of Old Florida.
I believe in the boys and girls of Old Florida.
In all kinds of weather.
In all kinds of weather.
And I won't back down.
And I won't back down.
Chomp.